one of the things we kind of jokingly say, like, it's difficult, but like, are you cutting weight while you're doing it?
Toccara Montgomery looking for a high-level gut wrench here, almost scored some points. What's going to happen? It's Montgomery with a 2-point tilt. We have a big upset in the making.
We sure do.
The natural ability was always there. She had an internal fire that a lot of people didn't see because she had a very laid-back demeanor. On the first day of practice, I had 7 girls come out for my team and 40-some guys. On the last day of practice, I had 3 guys left and all 7 girls. And Toccara was the leader of everything. And in the entire group from day one, Toccara could beat everybody in the room, every girl, every guy, except one guy.
Her hands. As soon as her hands touch you, you are not in control of that match.
I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I was there pretty much from birth until I went off to college, and then have been all over the world, I think, ever since then. My parents have always been my biggest supporters. They've always been those people who just tell me that there was nothing I couldn't do. Very inspirational for both me and my brother. If we came, I think when I first went and told my mom that I wanted to wrestle, she basically was like, wrestle? I don't know how I feel about that. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. And I don't think she knew at the time that it would be against guys, because at that time, you know, there was no such thing as like sanctioned wrestling for girls in high school in Ohio. Like, I kind of kept that under disclosure for a little bit, and then when she came to like my first match, she was like, this is not what I thought was going on. But again, like, my dad has always been like a huge like ego boost for me. He's always told me, like, you know, like, your last name's Montgomery, that means you can do anything.
Toccara was a hard worker and just so strong, and physical. There was a might about her that just, to be in her presence, she had just hands and strength, but there was a real good control that she could kind of drill with anybody, even somebody small like me, and be around. Kind of a gentle giant, but she just always knew there was a little twinkle in her eyes, like, don't make her mad, because when it was go time, she was phenomenal, fun to watch.
I'd coached wrestling for a long time. I think I was 12 years in the sport coaching when I came to her school at East Tech. And Toccara was as talented as just about any guy that I've ever coached.
I think at best I was like an average basketball player. And then my coach again, Kip, was like, hey, you can make this decision. You can be like an average basketball player, or you have the potential to be like a great wrestler. So, you know, which one do you want to kind of divide your time with, or choose, essentially. So it was tough because, like, I was a multi-sport athlete all throughout middle school and high school. But you know, when you have somebody like breathing that much life and inspiration into you, you kind of like believe in what they're telling you.
Montgomery has been given new life here, and she's taking advantage of it.
I think it was the challenge. You know, like, I by no means started off like this phenomenal wrestler. It was very challenging, and just like the battle, the sweat, I think the grind every day was something that at the time, I didn't know that like I would appreciate it so much later in my life. We didn't have a coach for the women's team at the University of the Cumberlands at that time. And they're like, hey, you know, like, Kip, what's going on? Like, is this something you would be interested in? And I don't think he had any aspirations of going on to be like a college, you know, powerhouse, but that's essentially what he did at the University of the Cumberlands. He ran back-to-back national championships for the team, and it was the same thing of just kind of developing girls and helping them grow and aspire to be like the best possible version of themselves in the sport that they could be as well.
Toccara was very controlled, but the girls that were her weight class on the other end of it, like, yeah. I wrestled her one time, and she was probably one of the strongest females I've ever wrestled in my entire life. We one time matched up weight classes, and I was like, oh, I need to finish this as quickly as possible. Like, yeah. Wow. Like, I was like, and I'm a strong female too, but man, she was just like so much stronger than me.
Yeah, she's powerful.
Yeah.
And I can remember a couple of like times watching her wrestle and being like, her explosion and her like it's like some people will like do like big fancy throws, but hers are just really practical and like, but hard and like intense. And I'm like it's just like a quick kill kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's throw it on. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
Glad I'm not under that.
Yeah.
At the 2001 World Championships, Toccara you know, was on the podium first time out there, and she was also named the most technical wrestler in the world that year with the FILA award, which is really a pretty special thing. And so there isn't anybody who didn't watch that kid and say, dang, that's what we're all shooting for.
One of the things I always admired about Toccara is that it didn't matter who she wrestled. At the end of the day, they were all sitting down, hanging out and talking together. It wasn't, these are my enemies and I must crush them. She did what she had to do on the mat, and then afterwards, she realized that everybody that she competed against was a human being, and I think people really enjoyed sitting down and talking with her. If she was to speak to many of the women that she competed against today, I think they would all have fond memories.
There's a warmth and a steadiness about her that when she's in a group with you, I think you're glad that she's around and she's in that space.
The funny thing about history is you don't necessarily know that you're a part of it when it's happening. It's just like it's happening, you're in the moment, and you don't think about it. So at that time, I wasn't thinking like, wow, I'm gonna be the first African-American woman to be on an Olympic team for wrestling. Never thought about it in that light ever. It was just like, hey, I have this opportunity, like I am going to the Olympics. And then the coaching part of it was just kind of natural, you know, like what do you do after you retire? You know, like you want to make the next group of girls the best they can be. So like you just naturally progress into coaching as well.
I can't think of a higher honor in the sport of wrestling than her being inducted, and I can't think of a person more deserving than Toccara.
And I don't want to say goal because I didn't have it on my list, you know, like it was just something, I don't want to say something that just happened because it was so many moving parts in the background and people that helped make it happen. But just to think back to where I started and to where I am now is just, it has me over the moon essentially.